Hey, Freedom. It's time for today's 1 minute challenge. And the word for today is this: stand. Last Thursday night in corporate prayer, Aidan took us into Ephesians 6, that great passage about the armor of God. And it begins this way in verse 10. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Now, surely you know that there's a very real devil out there, and he's got specific schemes and strategies against you, your kids, your teens, your family, your lives. And God tells us to be aware of that, and even more than that, be ready to take your stand. And he says, because our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, authorities, powers of this dark world, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you will be able to stand your ground. And after you've done everything, you stand. So not only do you have the schemes of the devil, you also have the day of evil. And can I just go on record to say, I believe the day of evil has officially arrived in our world. But then in the mix of this, you hear this word repeated several times: stand. And I hear it as both a challenge and a promise. It's a challenge to us because we've got to make sure we're doing the right things. First of all, that we clothe ourselves in the armor of God, which is really just the character of Jesus. And then we need to know where our battles are, where they're not, and we need to know how to fight our battles. I would also add to this that we need to stay connected to the family of God because they're the ones we stand with. And that's whether our kids in Awanas, our students in Gravity, or us in adult groups on Sunday nights. And so we hear the challenge, but then we hear the promise that if we do all these things, we have the very promise of God that we will be well equipped to stand. And we're going to be able to stand in his strength and his mighty power. So let's hear both this challenge and promise, and let's stand.